Alright folks, today we're going to talk about section 1.5, which is adding and subtracting real numbers. Now, what we're going to do here, you'll see your learning targets. We're going to find the sums and differences of real numbers, and we're also going to add and subtract mixed numbers. Now, what we need to do before we actually get into this is figure out when it says real numbers, what does that mean? Well, real numbers could mean fractions. Real numbers could mean decimals. Or real numbers could mean integers, whole numbers, but the scary ones here are these two. Okay? So before we get into adding and subtracting real numbers, we're going to have to do a little quick refresher on fractions, decimals, how to get common denominators, before we really get into the meat of this lesson, which is adding and subtracting those together. So, let's quickly do a review on fractions. Here it says convert the following improper fraction. There's our first vocab word. When it says improper fraction, what does that mean? Well, it means that the numerator is greater than the denominator. Okay, notice here 10 is greater than 3. Here 26 is greater than 12. So the numerator is greater than the denominator. Now, what does it mean to be an improper fraction besides that? Well, if the numerator is greater than the denominator, that means that the number itself is greater than 1. Because if I wanted to write the number 1 with a denominator of 3, I would write 3/3, 3 over 3. Well, what's bigger, 10/3 or 3/3? What's more, 10/3 or 3/3? Well, 10/3 is greater, so that means this number is bigger than 1. Same thing over here. If I wanted to write 1 with a denominator of 12, I'd write 12 over 12. Well, 26 twelfths is bigger than 12 twelfths, so this number is also going to be greater than 1. So we need to write these improper fractions as a mixed number. Okay, well, a mixed number, meaning I have to write it as a whole number, and then if it's not a whole number, it might have a fraction after it. Okay, so I need to write an improper fraction as a mixed number. So let's get to work here. 10/3. How am I going to convert this into a mixed number? Well, when I start learning about fractions, the best way for me to explain it and learn about it was dealing with pizzas. Okay, it's an oddly shaped pizza, but let's roll with it. Okay, so here I have a pizza. Let's split it into thirds because that's the denominator we're dealing with. 10/3. Okay, well here's a pizza. There's 1/3. There's 2/3. And there's 3/3, and that gives me a total of 1 pizza. Here's pizza number 2. Let's pretend they're the same size. Again, so I have 3/3 here, so this would be 4/3, 5/3, and 6/3. So I have 6 total thirds here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives me a grand total of 2 pizzas. Here's pizza number 3. Again, divide it into thirds. So I have 6/3. This will be 7/3, 8/3, 9/3 for a grand total of 3 pizzas. And how many thirds do I want? Well, I want 10/3 because that's what I'm trying to do. So I got 9 so far. So really, I only have to fill in one of these slices to get my 10/3. So as a mixed number, how many total pizzas do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, and 1/3. Whenever you're converting from an improper fraction to a mixed number, this number right here is always going to match this number, and then you have to look to see if you can simplify this. Well, we can't simplify 1/3, so we're just going to leave it like that, 3 and 1/3. Okay, now I don't want you having to draw pizzas out every time you have to convert to an improper fraction. So how am I going to convert 26 over 12 to an improper fraction? Or, I'm sorry, to a mixed number. Well, let's see. How many times does 12 go into 26? Well, it goes in twice. So we have 12 and 24, so it goes in twice. Then what's left over? How many twelfths is left over? I have 12 twelfths, then 24 twelfths. Well, how do I get to 26? I have to add two more. So what's left is going to be 2 twelfths. Notice how this number and this number match. However, now I have to simplify 2 twelfths. 2 twelfths can simplify if I divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. It can simplify to 1/6. So 26 over 12 is equal to 2 and 1/6 as a mixed number. We always have to write it in lowest terms. Alright, now what if I'm adding and subtracting fractions together? Here I have 3/7 plus 4/7. Anytime you're adding fractions together, if the denominator is the same, that's a good sign, because that means less work for us. If the denominator is the same, I keep the denominator of that in my final answer until I can simplify. So I'm not going to add 7 and 7 together. My denominator is just going to be 7. But I do add the numerators together. 3 plus 4 gives me 7 as well. So I have 7 over 7. Key phrase here though, write answers in lowest terms. So what is 7 over 7? Well, that's just going to give me an answer of 1. Alright, now we get to a little bit trickier one. Not only are we subtracting here, but we also do not have a common denominator. That was nice here in number 3, because I had 7, so I could just add them together right away. Now I have to come up with a common denominator. So what is my least common denominator? I need to come up with a number that's both a multiple of 4 and a multiple of 6. So let's see here. One way you could do this is you could write 4 and write 6 and start listing out multiples. So what's multiples of 4? We have 4, 8, start counting by 4s, 12, 16. What if I start counting by 6s? I have 6, 12, 18, 24. Okay, stop for a second. What is the smallest number that's both in this row and this row? How about 12? 12 is here, and 12 is there. So that means I need to somehow give this fraction a denominator of 12, and this fraction a denominator of 12. So how do we do this? Well, I have to somehow change this problem without changing it. Now, what sense does that make? That means I need to rewrite this without changing the problem. So how can I rewrite 3/4 with the denominator of 12? Well, 4 times what gives me 12? 4 times 3. But now if I do that to the 4, I have to do it to the 3 too, or else I change the problem. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 3 would give me 9. Try the 3 there. So I have 9/12 minus, I got to change that 6 to a 12, so how do I change 6 to 12? I multiply it by 2. But again, I can't stop there. I have to multiply the numerator by 2 as well. So 1 times 2 is going to give me 2. So we have 9/12 minus 2/12, which is going to give me an answer of 7 over 12. Now, can we simplify that at all? Nope, 7's a prime number, so that means we cannot. 7 over 12 is our answer. Alright, let's skip down to number 6 here. You'll see here I have some notes for you on how, or an easy way to convert mixed fractions to improper fractions. Because when we're adding and subtracting mixed numbers, like you'll see in number 6 and number 7, it's much easier if we can convert it to an improper fraction first. So let's do that. Now, one way we can do, let's follow these notes here, is we can multiply the bottom by the side and add to the top. Okay, what does that mean? Multiply the bottom by the side and add to the top. Well, this is the bottom, this is the side, and this is the top. So multiply the bottom by the side. 2 times 7 is going to give me 14, and add that to the top. Plus 1 is 15. So now I'm going to rewrite this as 15 over 2. Always keep this the same, so the 2 stays. And that makes sense, right? 7.5 is the same as 15 over 2. So let's try converting it here. Multiply the bottom by the top, or I'm sorry, the bottom by the side. So 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 is 19. So we have 15 halves minus 19 over 6. Alright, well now we got a problem kind of like we did up top, where we need to figure out a common denominator. Well, what is my least common denominator for 2 and 6? What's a number that's both a multiple of 2 and a multiple of 6? Well, how about 6? 6 is a multiple of 6, and 6 is also a multiple of 2. So, what I need to do now is I need to figure out, that's nice because I don't have to change this fraction at all, but I do have to change this. I have to rewrite 15 over 2 so it has a denominator of 6. So I'm going to multiply 2 times what gives me 6? That would be 3. And 15 times 3 is going to give me 45. So I'm going to rewrite 15 over 2 as 45 over 6. So now I have 45 over 6 minus 19 over 6. So when I do that, 45 over 6 is minus 19 over 6 is going to give me 26 over 6. And now we have to simplify. Always write in lowest terms. So if I simplify that, I'm going to divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, because both are 26 and 6 are both divisible by 2. So that's going to give me a final answer of 13 over 3. Okay. All right. Now, how about number 7 here? Now, I realize I took up all the space that I would work on number 7 while doing number 6. So let's do number 7 up here. Okay, let me create a little box here for us to do number 7. Alright, so let's do number 7 right here. Okay, so we have a negative mixed number now. Now, when we follow these steps here, notice bullet point number 2. Leave the negative out of it. So I'm still going to multiply the bottom by the side when converting this to a mixed number. So 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So that's going to give me 25 over 4. Now I can add the negative back in. So you leave the negative out when multiplying. Okay, so I'm going to do 4 times 6. I leave the negative out, but I still have to add it back in after I do that. So I have negative 25 over 4 plus 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8 plus 8 over 3. Okay. Alright, so now let's figure out a common denominator. What's our least common denominator of 4 and 3? What's a number that's both a multiple of 4 and a multiple of 3? Okay, well we got 4, 8, 12, and 3, 6, 9, 12. So 12 would be a number that's both a multiple of 4 and 3. So let's do that. So we have to rewrite negative 25 fourths. So this has a denominator of 12. So let's do that. So 4 times what would give me 12? That'd be 3. So that means I also have to multiply negative 25 by 3. So negative 25 times 3 is going to give me negative 75. And now I need to rewrite 8 over 3, so this has a denominator of 12. So 3 times what gives me 12? Well, that's going to be 4. So I also have to multiply the 4 to the 8. So 8 times 4 is going to give me 32. So I have negative 75 over 12 plus 32 over 12. Remember, when you're adding fractions together where the denominator is the same, that's automatically going to become your denominator. Don't add 12 and 12 together. Don't put a 24 here. This stays at 12.